A lot of behind-the-scenes work goes into making this school run smoothly, things the kids and even their parents probably never see. Pest control is a good example, a very important activity for maintaining a healthy school environment. Yet, if we're doing our jobs, there shouldn't be any visible sign of it. But consider the consequences of no pest control in the schools. Roaches in the kitchens, bathrooms, classrooms, and lunchrooms. Roaches multiplying and spreading bacteria and other harmful organisms. Mice and rats running free to feed on our food supply in storage areas, living in established burrows around garbage disposal areas. Stinging insects around playgrounds and athletic fields, threatening the safety of anyone who goes near them. And these are only a few of the ramifications of a school without pest control. As administrators, we're often too busy to think about pest control until there's a problem. Then we may have a few questions like, who should do the pest control? How much will it cost? Are pest control products safe to use in schools? And what about liability issues? During the next few minutes, we'll take a look at the answers to these and other questions you might have. And if you're a school district contract officer, this video is especially for you. Just what is the role of a contract officer in a pest control program? Contract officers have responsibilities in 4 areas. First, helping to determine whether to use in-house staff or outside contractors for pest control. Secondly, writing the contract bid specifications. Thirdly, selecting the contractor. And finally, working with others to oversee the work of the contractor. But before you can really begin determining whether a pest control contractor is needed, it is important for your district to have an IPM policy. This is also the first step in developing a bidding process. IPM, or Integrated Pest Management, is an environmentally sensitive approach to managing pest problems. IPM is a strategy that puts emphasis on the health and safety of people and the environment. IPM is ideally suited for schools. An IPM policy helps to clearly communicate the district's IPM intentions to faculty, staff, students, parents, and pest control contractors. Many IPM policies require the district to appoint an IPM coordinator to oversee the whole IPM program and work closely with the contract officer and other administrators to ensure that the district get the best pest control. Once an IPM policy is in place, the second step is for you and the IPM coordinator to determine what mix of in-house and contractor pest control is best for your district. Although IPM can be done successfully by school employees, some schools may wish to contract these services out to a professional pest control firm. A combination of in-house and contracted services may suit the needs of some school systems. Many school districts use in-house staff to control landscape and other outdoor pests, while hiring pest control contractors to handle indoor pest problems. Each of these approaches has advantages and disadvantages. You must decide which option is best for your district. Advantages of using in-house staff include eliminating the need to look for a reputable pest control contractor, maintaining tighter control over the quality of the work. In-house staff already has a rapport with the people in the school. It's often difficult for an outside contractor to establish such a relationship because they typically do their work after hours. It can be more efficient and cost-effective to combine pest control operations with other maintenance jobs like routine cleaning. On the other hand, there are advantages to contracting with outside pest control companies. Outside contractors are already well-trained and often have more varied experience in pest control. The operators are often more familiar with a wider variety of control techniques. You won't have to train or possibly license school personnel. The need to store or dispose of pesticides on district property is eliminated. Because most pest operations are conducted after hours and on weekends, your district will have less overtime expenses. Liability costs, such as special insurance associated with pest control, are absorbed by the contractor. Let's suppose that you decide that your district can best benefit from working with an outside pest control contractor. The next step is to develop clear contract bid specifications. If you don't, you may be headed for a frustrating experience and less than effective pest control. As with most things, there's a right way and a not so right way. Let's look at some examples. In this school, the staff is upset because the bugs seem to be running the show. They've hired an outside pest control company, but for some reason, teachers, staff, even students are reporting problems. The pest control company is getting a little hot, too. They've received a number of callbacks requesting additional services at their expense. What went wrong? Well, for some reason, the contractor mistakenly or purposely underbid the contract to get the job. How can you avoid this pitfall in your district? Require all potential vendors to make an on-site inspection prior to submitting a bid. Require contractors to provide written estimates of monthly service time requirements for each of the facilities they will be servicing. Make it clear that although you expect some service visits to exceed these times, the district will hold the company to their minimum time estimates. Failure by the contractor to meet minimum service times will be grounds for contract cancellation. This contractor is having trouble keeping up with the contract. They haven't allowed for factors like after-hours service schedules and the complexity of servicing a large school facility. I wonder how this problem could have been avoided. This IPM coordinator should have initiated a check on the pest company's track record to see if they had experience in servicing schools or other large institutions. Another way to make sure your pest controller doesn't bite off more than he can chew is to accept bids only from established responsible bidders with references that you can check. Here's a real nightmare. How do you find a contractor who shares your concerns for student health and environmental safety? Well, most pest control companies today are very aware of the public's concern about chemicals, but some still cling to the old-fashioned concept that good pest control means lots of pesticide sprays. First, having a clearly stated IPM policy is critical. It should outline the district's intent that all practical measures should be used first in order to minimize the need for potentially hazardous pesticides. You may even want to go as far as to list acceptable products or guidelines for selecting them within the contract. The blame game is another form of conflict between a pest control contractor and a school. What happens most often is the school blames the contractor for poor service, and the contractor complains that no one has read or taken seriously the sanitation report supplied by his company. What we have here is a failure to communicate. While both parties may have legitimate concerns about communications breakdown, you can prevent this problem by establishing a few simple ground rules. First, determine to whom the pest control operator will report. How will problems be reported? Who in the district will be responsible for responding to sanitation or building repair problems that have been identified in IPM inspection reports? And write these into the contract specifications. Communication breakdowns are less likely in writing. But remember, good relationships with outside contractors start with a detailed and clearly written set of bid specifications. It's your best tool for avoiding misunderstandings and giving your district the best pest control available. So, what are the essential elements of a good set of IPM contract bid specifications? Well, let's look at 6 of the most important. First, there's the on-site inspection. By requiring each bidder to schedule a site visit before submitting a bid, you can be sure that the bidders have every opportunity to know what they're getting into. It also gives you a chance to meet them face-to-face and assess their interest in you. Second, require bidders to provide you with estimates of their minimal service times at each of your district's facilities. This gives you an opportunity to evaluate how well they have studied your district. Compare it to how much time you would spend. And if you think the bidder has over or underbid, ask them to justify their figures. You may want to consider requiring your contractors to spend a minimal amount of service time at each facility. Third, clearly specify guidelines for pesticide use around school facilities. In some states, there are restrictions on when and where pesticides can be applied to school buildings. It's generally a good idea to restrict pest control work to times when children are not present. Outdoors, contractors may be required to post signs on treated lawns or shrubbery. Indoors, services may be restricted to certain days of the month. Now, some states have requirements governing what types of pesticides can or cannot be used in schools. Some pesticides present little or no significant risk to humans, while others have the potential for real harm if misapplied or overused. In some states, for example, pesticides are classified according to their potential impact on people and the environment. Schools are encouraged to use less toxic pesticides. When more hazardous pesticides must be used, the applicator must justify the use of that product in writing to the IPM coordinator. Let your contractor know what your school expects with regard to pesticide safety. Fourth, provide a clearly written scope of work and spell out the contractor's responsibilities. List the types of pests the contractor will be required to control. Some contracts exclude certain pests in order to keep the costs down. For example, many contracts exclude termites because of the unique and additional control efforts that must be made to curb these pests. Often, the contract will ask the bidder to provide a separate bid for termites. This amount would not be paid to the company unless, of course, the pest was detected. Other responsibilities you might want to include in your pest contract are the keeping of a logbook, submission of service records, providing labels and material safety data sheets for all products to be used, licensing requirements, and frequencies and times of service. Fifth, specifications should require the bidder to provide references from customers who can testify about their competence to service institutional accounts. Sixth, require a plan of work be provided before service begins. The plan of work specifies how the contractor plans to address the major pest problems, frequency of service, types of tactics to be used, an explanation of the company's quality control program, reporting plan, and so on. Normally, the plan of work is required from the contractor after the bid is awarded. When bidding the job, the contractor should consider the time that will be needed to develop an IPM plan. Once the bids are in, how do you choose the best contractor for your school? Well, the key is to look beyond the bottom line. Weigh each company not only by its bid, but also by its experience with IPM, its technician training program, previous school experience, realistic service time estimates, the ability to respond to emergency requests for service, and managerial capabilities. A scoring method called weighted factor rating is one approach that can be used to provide objective comparison of bidders. And remember, sometimes you get what you pay for. The lowest bid is not always a bargain. Will contracting with an IPM provider be expensive? Well, it depends on the size of your district and how bad your pest problems are. Good pest control can be expensive. Good IPM technicians are well-trained specialists and deserve to be compensated as such. On the other hand, if a school is serious about making a commitment to IPM, costs should be lower in the long run. Because IPM is a systematic effort to pest-proof facilities, maintain healthy, pest-resistant landscapes, and keep facilities sanitary and unattractive to pests, it means fewer potential pest problems down the road. Also, fewer chemicals and fewer service visits will be needed. A good pest company can help reduce long-term pest control costs by helping you with a systematic sanitation improvement program and by suggesting ways to make buildings and grounds less susceptible to pests. Refer to your workbook for more information about contract specifications and rating bids. Starting and maintaining a good IPM program with outside contractors or with your own staff can be a win-win situation for your district, for your school, and for everyone who works and learns there.